皆さんこんにちは。毎日少しずつ社交に使える英語の上達を目指すソーシャルイングリッシュポッドキャストへようこそ。今日はぜひもっと自信を持って英会話してみましょう。 Are you ready, Percy? Let's go!
Alright, welcome back to the Social English Podcast once again. It's just me, Percy. I am so happy to have you here with me today. And in today's episode, we are going to help a Japanese person with their English that asked me to fix their English. Okay? So, if you are a first-time listener or viewer to this particular podcast, thanks for showing up. I'm glad that you're spending some time with me. I hope you find this helpful. If you're a returning listener, hey, thanks for showing up again. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate that. So let's get started. Now, first, what we want to do is talk about your English level for this particular episode. Your English level should be medium level.
今日のソーシャルイングリッシュのエピソードは、中級または上級のスキルレベルで英語を勉強している人々を対象としています。初心者の方はゆっくりとエピソードを聞いてください。頑張れ。
Or I will give you fast English. We're going to talk about fast, social, natural English. So we're going to do part 2 again, but at a faster speed. This way you can practice your listening and your native English listening skills. Sound good? All right, cool. Let's get started. But first, I want the Japanese audience to listen to that in Japanese.
すべての英語修理店のエピソードと同様に4つのパートがあります。パート1では英語を勉強している日本人が間違って言ったことを正確に聞くことができます。パート2では会話型のソーシャルイングリッシュスタイルで正しい英語を聞くことができます。パート3ではパーシーはあなたが同じ過ちを犯さないようにするために彼が重要だと考えるヒントをあなたに与えます。パート4でパーシーは正しい英語版を高速で自然な速度で言います。このようにしてネイティブの速度で英語を聞く練習をすることもできます。
Recently, Japan faced the unfortunate passing of Mr. Shinzo Abe. And that is what this person wants to talk about today. They want to talk about their experience or how they feel about that. So let's go in and let's read the incorrect English that we'll fix. Let's get started. Here is the incorrect English. Please listen very closely. We Japanese are barely hear gun shooting sounds. So we don't know how to do that happened. That means Japan is peaceful country. The other side, we are so calm when the earthquake happened. Okay, so now I'm back with after that, and maybe you have some ideas. How would you fix this? So I'm sure that you have some ideas on how you would fix this particular mistake made, and I'm pretty sure this is natural attempt. This is a natural attempt. What I mean is, I believe this person tried to write this in English by themselves and not use Google Translate, which is good. It's better that you try to write things on your own and not use Google Translate. So let's go to part 2. Okay, here is the corrected English version. Japanese people aren't used to hearing gunshots, so we didn't know what happened and we don't know how to react. This means deeply that Japan is a peaceful country. Okay, here it is again. In Japan, we barely hear gunshots, so us Japanese don't know how to react to that. This really means that Japan is a peaceful country. For example, when earthquakes happen, we are so calm. Here it is one more time. A different version. In Japan, you rarely hear gunshots. So when this happens, we don't know how to react. This means that Japan is a peaceful country. For example, when something else happens, such as an earthquake, we are still very calm. Okay, so that is the social English version. I gave you 2 different versions today on how I would fix that. Let's move into part 3. Now we're going to focus on, of course, today's mistakes. Did you hear that gunshot? Something like that, okay? So when describing that particular activity, you would say gunshots, okay? Even if you were watching a movie, let's say you and your Japanese friend, or you and your friend from Australia were watching the latest James Bond movie. In that movie, there's a gun fight. You could say to them, "Wow, those gunshots are pretty loud in this movie." Or, "The gunshots in this movie are so real. They sound so realistic." Something like that. Just to talk about the gunshots themselves. The sound of a gun shooting is called gunshots. This is pretty simple, but you would say, for example, also, when you say the other side, it sounds like you're saying something different. You're going to say something different. So if you're going to continue with something, okay. Well, now, so that's pretty much it for that particular part. So let's go back and I'm going to read this correct English again in fast speed, okay? Please listen. Okay, let's get started. Here is part 4, the last part of today's episode. Fast English. Please listen very carefully. In Japan, we barely hear gunshots, so us Japanese don't know how to react. This means Japan is a peaceful country. For example, we're calm when we have earthquakes. Here is a second version that you might hear. Okay, 2 versions today. In Japan, you rarely hear gunshots. So us Japanese don't know how to react when one happens. This really means that Japan is a very peaceful country. For example, when we have earthquakes, we are still very calm.
このショーを気に入っていただけたら5つ星のレビューをぜひお願いします。コメントは英語か日本語でお書きいただければ喜んで読ませていただきます。realsocialenglish.com にアクセスしてぜひ無料でダウンロードしてください。ほとんどの日本人の英語を勉強している人がやってしまいがちな7つの間違いとその正しい言い方。また、毎日英語を上達させるのに役立つ資料もたくさんあります。Apple Podcast、Google Podcast、Stitcher、そして今はパンドラでもポッドキャストを購読いただきます。支援者になっていただけませんか？私たちがこのショーを作るための支援として5ドルの寄付をお願いできませんか？今後のエピソードで感謝の気持ちをお伝えします。また、そこでしか利用できない新しいコンテンツも入手できます。patreon.com/socialenglish からご参加ください。 ソーシャルメディアで私たちのポッドキャストを友達にシェアしたり、Twitter、Facebook、Instagram のフォローをお願いします。
Talk about something that does not happen a lot in Japan, or it's never happened in Japan, and what you and people that you know, how they would feel about it. Okay? Practice that with your avatar or your friend, and ask them what they feel about it. Okay? So, once again, thank you for joining me today's episode. This is the Social English Podcast. This is the YouTube video version. If you are listening to the podcast from your podcast player, such as Apple or Google Podcasts or Amazon Music, anything like that, we do now have a YouTube channel. Okay, it's just in the basic beginnings, but you will be able to listen to this podcast or watch it. Okay, if you are watching this podcast, you could actually listen to it while you're riding the train, driving to work, you're exercising, riding your bicycle. So it's also an easy way to listen to this content. Okay, anyway, that's all for today's episode. Peace and love. See you in the next episode.
今日は楽しい時間をありがとうございました。ぜひ私たちのウェブサイト realsocialenglish.com を訪問して日本語訳と役立つ情報を手に入れてください。また次回お会いしましょう。バイバイ。See you next time. Bye bye.